One of the most interesting watches in the Rolex line is the Milgauss. We'll talk about all the different variations and what to look for here at Swiss Watch Expo. Fresh from the showcase here at Swiss Watch Expo, we are talking about the Rolex Milgauss. This is one of the most interesting watches in their line. And if you haven't seen it before, you might have seen it and not realized what you were looking at. It might be a little bit under the radar because it's not as pronounced as a striking watch maybe as some of the professional series or certainly watches that have diamonds. I mean, this is a watch that you could wear and if you didn't want somebody to realize that you were wearing an expensive watch, the Rolex Milgauss can be the under-the-radar watch. It can be great for casual Friday in the office. If you don't want your clients to realize that you're doing well, maybe you wear your Rolex Milgauss instead of a vintage Submariner or something like that. But what's great about this watch is that it has the Rolex durability, Rolex features just in spades, and you're going to love how this watch works on your wrist. When you wear it, when you look down at it, you're going to see the distinctive design elements of it that really set it apart from all the other Rolex line. You won't see any Datejust or Air King or professional series watch that looks like the Milgauss. So it really is exciting. Shout out to Will wearing his, the first person I ever saw wearing one. But this watch came out in 1956. And, you know, I've heard the legend that there were a lot of scientists and engineers, people who were in the booming technology factories at the time, research labs, and that if they even got 100 or 200 Gauss of magnetic exposure, it would make their watches go haywire, and they either wearing a watch that doesn't work right or they're just not wearing a watch at all. So Rolex decided to attack the problem. I hear that, but I also know that Rolex tends to backdate a story sometimes, and so maybe they came out with a watch that was really resistant to magnetic fields and then figured out who they were going to aim it at, because at the time there weren't that many people working in those industries. Even if they had sold every Milgauss they made to those people, they still would have had lots of extra inventory left over. So I'm not 100% sure I buy that, but you can look into it yourself. The mil means 1,000 in French. So Milgauss, it would stand up to 1,000 Gauss, which really was a technological revolution at the time. And they had it verified by the European nuclear scientists, CERN, CERN. They're the folks that still run the Large Hadron Collider. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But the watch at that time, it looked a lot like a Submariner. It just had the lightning bolt second hand, and it was noted Milgauss on the dial. And if you find one of those, it might be an interesting oddity, something that wasn't made in big numbers, but that watch was made until 1988. And then it went out of the collection for about 20 years. And in 2007, for the celebration of the Large Hadron Collider, and you'll have to look that up. I'm a big fan of this piece of equipment. It's really interesting if you look into what it does and why they built it. But to celebrate that, the same people, CERN, run the Large Hadron Collider, and to celebrate that, that's why they came out with the Milgauss again in 2007. So when they first launched it, it had a lot of interesting features. It was reference 116400. That's what all of these are. The reference number doesn't change with the dial color, but it had the blue parachrome hairspring built into the caliber 3131. So this is a workhorse movement, extremely dependable. The blue parachrome hairspring, it has a zirconium alloy that is extremely resistant to magnetic fields and shocks and temperature changes. And so it's a great feature to get inside your watch. It also features sort of a soft iron core cage, sort of a shielding capsule that the movement goes in that keeps it shielded from the magnetic fields. So that's unique to the Milgauss from all the other Rolex watches. And they built into it all the other things that you would expect from a Rolex sporty dressy watch that it's water resistant to 100 meters. It has the sapphire crystal. All that is just what you would expect. The oyster bracelet that's included, it's sort of the dressier version of the oyster bracelet where the center links are high polished, the edges are brushed, the sides are high polished, and then of course it has the oyster clasp that is locked. It can't be opened unless you open it from the end. And then it features the Easy Link, so you can open and close it by 5 millimeters without any tools. The great thing about that is, your wrist changes with the temperature and humidity and whatever you've eaten. So it's a really nice to be able to tighten it down if it feels like it's a little loose, probably in the winter, and then be able to open it back up, probably in the summer. If you feel stuck to your watch, it's a rough feeling, so it's great to be able to just open it back up. So other than that, the only differences between these models really are the crystal and the dial. So we'll talk about that. When they first launched it in 2007, white was one of the colors you could get. But if you notice, the baton hour markers are orange. And then the second hand, this is one of the defining aesthetics of the Milgauss, is this lightning bolt design. I think it's pretty bold for Rolex. When you look at how conservative so many of their other watches are, to have this lightning bolt second hand really makes this watch stand out. And it shows that you're wearing something special, something different, something that not everybody else who has a Rolex has. It also has the minute track around the edge in orange text as well. And then the word Milgauss right under Rolex Oyster Perpetual is in orange also. So this one is a really interesting design. It's a bright, clean white. And yet with the orange, it's really different. So I would definitely recommend that one. Also in 2007, the first ones that came out had a black dial. Oh, by the way, this white dial, this one was only made until 2016, and then it was retired from the collection. So, it might be something that becomes something of a collector's item in the future, since it was only made for a relatively short period. But back to the black one here, you can see that at the edges around the edge of the dial where the minute track is, the text isn't orange, but the markers are. And so that's really interesting with the black color. Again, you've got the orange lightning bolt dial, lightning bolt second hand, and the word Milgauss on the dial in orange also. This one has the clear sapphire crystal. So that's a different version from this one, which has the black dial with the green sapphire crystal. So when you see the reference number end in GV, that stands for green glass, essentially. And Rolex has used, they say, such a complex procedure to make this sapphire crystal slightly green tinted that they didn't even bother to patent it. I find that quite interesting. When you look at it, it really reflects the Rolex signature green color. You see it more around the edge as you're looking at it, but it's a really distinctive look, and definitely one of the top choices if you're going to get a Milgauss. You can really kind of amp up its uniqueness by choosing the green crystal. When you look at this dial, you can see that it's quite different from the black dial with the clear crystal, because the markers at 3, 6, and 9 are also orange. And there's a combination of lume where they use the chromolite in green and blue. So when you see this thing at night, it's really interesting. Of course, the lightning bolt second hand, the orange numbers at the edge of the dial, and the word Milgauss in orange also. And then here we have what for a lot of people is kind of the star of the show. This one's called ZBlue, is the name of the dial. The reason it's called ZBlue is because the dial itself is zirconium coated, which is why it has this beautiful color of blue and a luster that's just not on any other Rolex watch. You can't get the ZBlue dial on anything but a Milgauss. And you can see this one, when you combine the blue dial with the green crystal, such a unique look. You're really setting yourself apart with this watch versus anything else in the Rolex catalog. Again, we've got the white markers, but with the orange numbers at the edge and the word Milgauss in orange. Tell us which one would be your pick. You might want to go a little bit more conservative and get the regular white or black without the green glass, or The ZBlue might be more your flavor. They've all done very well over the last few years. The prices have been rising steadily, some of them up as much as 30% over the last 2 years. So you might want to go ahead and jump on them while we've got them available. You can see we've got all 4 versions in stock today here at Swiss Watch Expo. Click on the bell, like, subscribe, and give us a call. See which ones we've got. Let us know in the comments which one you like the best. I think that for me, if I'm going to pick one right now today, it would be hard to choose.